Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you are in good conditions this time. I am Alpina Dewi from class 4D and I am a student at Syarif Hidayatullah State Islamic University Jakarta. So in this time I want to tell you about my summary article. Okay, in the first slide, there is informations of all the article about the title and the author. First article is using American coming of age stories in the ELT classroom by Elena Ortolf Mountain. And two, students' right to the freedom of education by Engine Microsoft. And three, effectiveness of guided group work in graduate level quantum mechanics by C.D. Porter and A.F. Heckler. And four, the title is Social Security and Fighting Poverty in Tunisia by Hasna Kamali and Monir Belomi. And five, there is an empirical survey of statistical research method in applied science by Juania. And six, there is voice syncretisms cross-linguistically, the view from minimalism by Despina Oikonomo and Artemis Alexandro. Seventh, there is the interactive effect of EFL teachers' emotions and cognitions on their pedagogical practice by Yancy. The H article, the title is Story as Advocacy, Reservist Teachers Discover Resilience, Purpose, and Identities of Well-Being by Megan Farnsworth. And nine, the title is Mapping Reservist Teachers Faulty Reasoning in Geometric Translation to the Design of Van Hale Path-Based Instructions by Nokwanda Pipalsi and Kakoma Luneta. And the last, the title is Reservist Teachers Live and Practice in Teaching English to Young Learners by Juliana Othman and Richard Chile. So, the next slide, there is first article is title is Using American Coming of Age Stories in the ELT Classroom by Elena Ortolf Mountain. In this article, there are purpose. The purpose is to show that literature can greatly help engage students in reading English as well as foster cultural awareness and multi-technique understanding, and the multiculturalist projects that can in the United States in the 109,017 and that contribute to the integrations of minority authors in the literary canon was based on selected texts. Despite its limited scope, one of the main objects of the venture is to show how careful selections of book extracts taken from Kennewick, Young American-born Chinese, and Toni Morrison, the Blue Sky, can contribute to improving linguistic learners' language competence to enhancing their knowledge of cultural and history aspects of the past, present, and future of the United States, as well as to evolve empathy for others. And the result is provide positive implications for the interrogations of multicultural YAL in ELT. The study presented this literature as invaluable material to promote reading in English, provided adequate selections of materials in terms of level, age, gender, and interest take place, and to raise the students' awareness about otherness, exploiting the potentials of literature for cultural learning. The project shows how to employ fragments of multicultural YAL to acquaint learners with issue of race, gender, and identity in the United States, and to help them ponder upon the significance of developing understanding between cultures. Consequently, I will suggest this can also be considered as an essential component of the education's model of pre-service teachers. And second articles, title is Students' Right to the Freedom of Education by Engine Metisoft. There is purpose. The purpose and objective of this study are not clearly mentioned in this article. However, it is mentioned that the author who carried out this study and to make students good, creating education which is fun for students and teachers, and students can improve their skills aspect. The reasons that all students are entitled to have freedom in choosing their own education and future, and have a controlled class movement, and the main obstacle to the right to freedom of education is the entitlement of education with other non-educational practice and objectives such as credentialism educations aimed primarily at social mobility, exclusions of children from the streets and work, volunteerism against property, school lunch, promoting social justice, instilling nationalism and patriotism, social cohesion, cultural homogenization, immigrant assimilation, socio-economic engineering, childcare, conformism, social or political participations, democratic, instilling moral values, need-based educational assistance, and so on. Article 3, there is effectiveness of guided group work in graduate level quantum mechanics by C.D. Porter and E.F. Heckler. The purpose of this article is to show that qualitatively the observed positive benefit of GGY at the graduate level is consistent with similar benefit of GGW observed at the graduate level and indicate the broad effectiveness of GGW in basic education. The result of this study indicate that implementing GGW in graduate level key aim course may be beneficial. And the result that Sufficiently many students attend and engage consistently and voluntarily for group work and discussions to be feasible and productive. So we have observed that there are some important differences in how to run these sessions compared to sessions with novice undergraduate students. We have collected significant evidence that quiet group work sessions improve performance on a mixture of conceptual and calculational assessment items in graduate level quantum mechanics performance and attempts of unrelated GGW sessions is strong evidence that alternative explanations for the gain in performance such as selections effect or other attitudinal or motivational considerations do not account for the observed positive effect of GGW attendance. Next is Social Security and Fighting Poverty in Tunisia by Hasna Kamli and Monique Blomny. The purpose of this article to study was to examine the role of social security in fighting poverty in Medlow, Tunisia, using survey data collected between July and January, covering poor household. We use questionnaire data, which gave a thorough analysis of directions, behavior, and strategies adopted by poor household as a result of various forms of rates. Social security has an effect on a number of different areas, including health, education, housing, and income or methodology explored both complete and partial household to cope with economic shock. The result there is evidence in this study. We examine the effect of social security schemes on poverty. First, a comparison of estimate between covered household and household not yet covered by social security suggests that risk sharing is complete estimates of the effect of income and healthcare expenditures on consumptions by characteristic of the household suggests that there is categorically heterogeneity in how insurance affects the vulnerability to risks of different subgroups. The results so that social security improves the possibility of cover against risks and that there is heterogeneity in how insurance affects the vulnerability of households. In 5 article is an empirical survey of statistical research methods in applied science by Juan Yang. There is purpose of this article to show that of applied linguistics is to better solve the language problem in the current social development in order to effectively improve the statistical analysis and development of applied linguistics. The functions of applied linguistics will be reasonably expanded in the process of its research. It uses scientific cognitions to strengthen part of the analytical ability of applied linguistic functions so as to reasonably promote the progress and development of its research statistical methods. The research there is evident in this paper, the research on quantitative and qualitative methods. Applied linguistics covers a wide in the process of studying the statistical methods, we saw payful attentions to the reliability, credibility, and scientificity of related research results effectively improve the related functions of applied linguistics from the current research on statistical methods of applied linguistics diversified research idea will help relevant statistical research. At present, my country has a certain understanding and applications of statistical methods in applied linguistics and has a more general recognition of them, and there is still a certain degree of selectivity in the study of statistical methods in applied linguistics. And six is voice syncretisms cross-linguistically, the view from minimalism by Despina Oikonomou and Artemis Alexiadou. The purpose of this article to show the different interpretations arise under the general synthetic representations as we have outlined in the introductions. We follow on algorithmic approach based on which the different interpretations depend on the properties of the embedded and explicit analysis of a voice head, which introduces the eternal argument in a different style around the same time. They analyze Greek on the voice morphology as an exponent of little v in the absence of external argument. Essentially, the way voice is used in the two cases is quite different. And the result there was called to the review. This might be problematic for a low account analysis. These antipassive constructions lie beyond the scope of our paper science. It is not syncretic with other middle constructions. It is not clear whether the job-like semantic that mentions goes against a law against hypothesis. At this point, the literature provides us with conflicting evidence. For example, mentions that most commonly cross-linguistically manner verbs from antipassive. What is certain is that antipassive formations is restricted to certain verb classes which can vary from language to language. Essentially, our account, which is based on contextual dependence, will have to examine the unifying feature of verbs which come from anticipate in type B syncretic language. And seventh, there is the interactive effect of EFL teachers' emotions and cognitions on their pedagogical practice by Yancy. The purpose this article to show the empirical research on the correlations among EFL teachers or emissions, cognitions, and pedagogical practice counts. Therefore, future studies are recommended to interested researchers. Second, the dynamism of emotional and mental variabilities in L2, education requires longitudinal and qualitative research instruments by future scholars. Additional cross-cultural studies can be done on best variable to identify uh, if contextual factor make a significant change or no. So the result there was argued that EFL teachers' emotional factor influence different aspects of their career. Moreover, it was claimed that emotion and cognitions are two intertwined constructs which are able to affect various teaching and testing practice of EFL teachers. The study can be of value for EFL teachers in that their knowledge, awareness, and practice of specific emotional aspect of language teaching can exponentially increases. There's also realize that their mental belief and perceptions influence their pedagogical practice to a large extent. And H article still story as advocacy perseveres. Teachers discover resilience, purpose, and identities of well-being by Megan Farnsworth. The purpose of this article is a spiritual feeling of connections to something large that self that often manifests in religious belief. These connections have the internal resources of value, belonging, and finding meaning, the ability to identify a goal that is personally meaningful and motivated by a desire to have consequence in the world, to do something positive for the world beyond the self. Cognitions, emotions, and motivations are three dimensions influencing teacher behavior. And the result, there was reforming events to consider difference between points and generate new outcomes, heightening self-insight and affirming strength as resources and increasing empathy, belonging, and purpose against the and purpose involves actions and enable students to challenge power inequities and expand identities of well-being. Purpose seems to be the link between resilience and mental health, which emphasizes adapting well and the actions of making a contribution to one community, supporting pre-service teacher mental health given the increases accountability for PSD to focus on students learning in increasingly unsafe environments. Teachers education programs must prioritize courses for supporting PSD mental health. And the ninth article, there is mapping preserved teachers faulty reasoning in geometric translations to this design of fan health test-based instructions by Nokwanda Pembusika, Luneta. The purpose this article is to explore BAD in PFT, faulty reasoning in transformation geometry with a focus on geometric translation. The understanding of this faulty reasoning as displayed through errors made by students was to be used to find how test-based instructions effective activity that were mapped to the errors and misconceptions identified. The instructional design was meant to assist teachers and PhD educators with the development of instructions materials used to facilitate and interventions that will seek to address and help improve students' reasoning in transformations geometry. And the result, there was a series of activity based on the found health phases of learning were developed and used during the implementation of an interventions programs to address students' errors in transformations geometry. These activities were organized into a comprehensive document that provides guidelines and activities on teaching transformation geometry to student teachers in the PB. These research contribute to knowledge creations. This is important. Teachers an idea of how to design and ask instructional programs such as one based on Venn theory to improve learners' reasoning and understanding of geometry, a component of mathematics that presents with challenge throughout the schooling years. And the last one, the title is Pre-Service Teachers Believe and Practice in Teaching English to Young Learners by Juliana Altman and Richard Kelly. The purpose of this article is to investigate the teaching and language learning belief held by pre-service ESL teachers at a local university in Malaysia and examine the congruence and incongruence of their belief with classroom practice engaged in a dialogue with the pre-service teacher to elicit their belief about teaching and learning as well as their classroom practice. So the result, there was Weidel claimed that what pre-service teachers practice in their classroom is largely influenced by their belief of teaching and learning. This study set out to examine pre-service teacher belief about language teaching and learning at primary school level and the extent to which their beliefs are manifested in their classroom practice. Okay, I think now. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.